Brock Lesnar is scared and WWE is covering it up. Brock Lesnar just pulled out of his scheduled Royal Rumble match against Obafemi, and the official WWE explanation about scheduling conflicts is the most insulting lie the company has told fans in years. Multiple sources confirm the real reason Brock backed out. He's terrified of working with Obafemi after watching what Oba did to him on Raw last month, and he's using every bit of leverage in his contract to avoid facing the one wrestler who exposed him as mortal, vulnerable, and past his prime. This isn't speculation. This isn't rumor. This is confirmed backstage information that WWE is desperately trying to suppress because admitting that Brock Lesnar, the Beast incarnate, the Conqueror, their ultimate final boss, is scared of a 25-year-old would destroy the mystique they've spent 2 decades building. So instead they're feeding fans garbage about scheduled conflicts while scrambling to find Oba a replacement opponent who won't expose how weak their protection of Brock has made the entire roster look. But here's what makes this absolutely infuriating: Obafemi was promised this match. He was told defeating Brock at Royal Rumble would be his star-making moment, the victory that launches him into the main event stratosphere. And now he's getting screwed because a 47-year-old part-timer is too insecure to do the job he's being paid millions to do. Put over the next generation when the time comes. Hit that like button and subscribe to Wrestling News CC because I'm about to expose exactly what happened behind the scenes, why Brock's refusal to face Oba reveals his fear of being exposed, and why WWE's complicity in protecting Brock's ego is destroying their ability to create the future stars they claim to want. Let me walk you through the timeline because every detail makes WWE and Brock look worse. 6 weeks ago, Brock and Oba had that instant classic on Raw where Oba pushed Brock to his absolute limits. Brock won via interference, but the damage to his mystique was done. Everyone watching recognized that Oba not only competed with Brock but in many exchanges dominated him. The plan coming out of that match was clear: rematch at Royal Rumble where Oba goes over clean, establishing him as the monster who conquered the Beast. That's smart booking. Use your established legend to create your next attraction. Brock's people reportedly agreed to this initially because even Brock recognized that Oba looked special. But then something changed. Around 3 weeks ago, Brock started having concerns about the planned finish. He questioned whether Oba was ready for that level of push. He suggested maybe they should do another interference finish to keep the feud going. Classic veteran tactics for avoiding doing the job: concern trolling disguised as protecting the business. WWE creative pushed back. They told Brock this was the plan and it's what's best for the company's future. Oba needs this win to be established as a legitimate main event threat. Brock has nothing left to prove and doesn't need the win. Standard logic that should have ended the discussion. Instead, Brock escalated. He started citing contract clauses about having input on finishes. He mentioned his reduced schedule and how big matches take a toll on his body. He brought up every excuse possible to avoid facing reality. He doesn't want to lose to Obafemi because it scares him that someone this young is already this good. Then came the ultimatum. 2 weeks ago, Brock's representation contacted WWE with a clear message: either change the finish to protect Brock, or Brock won't work the match. Not a request. Not a negotiation. A demand backed by the leverage of Brock's star power and WWE's fear of losing their special attraction. WWE had a choice. Stand firm, tell Brock to do his job or breach his contract, and establish that no one is bigger than the company or the business. Or cave to Brock's demands, protect his ego, and sacrifice Obafemi's momentum to maintain their comfort level with a 47-year-old who should be transitioning into a part-time role putting people over. Guess which option WWE chose? They caved. Completely. Pulled Brock from the match entirely and created a bullshit cover story about scheduling conflicts to avoid admitting the truth that Brock Lesnar refused to do his job because he's scared of being definitively beaten by someone younger, hungrier, and better than current-day Brock. Here's why this is so pathetic and damaging. Brock Lesnar's entire mystique is built on being fearless. The beast who conquers everyone. The monster who can't be intimidated. The ultimate final boss who welcomes challenges. That's the character WWE has sold for 20 years. And now that character is shattered. Because the reality is Brock is a 47-year-old with accumulated injuries, reduced mobility, and the awareness that he can't perform at the level he once did. Obafemi exposed that in their first match by matching Brock's power, exceeding his athleticism, and making Brock look his age. Brock saw that. Brock felt that. And instead of being professional and doing the job to help build WWE's future, Brock is running scared from the confrontation that would definitively prove he's been surpassed. That's not beast behavior. That's coward behavior. And WWE is enabling it by letting Brock dictate terms instead of holding him accountable to his contractual obligations. The locker room reaction is reportedly explosive. Younger wrestlers are furious that Brock gets special treatment while they're expected to lose whenever creative demands it. There's particular anger from talent who've been told it's best for business when asked to do jobs, only to watch Brock refuse to do the same and face zero consequences. Obafemi specifically is said to be devastated. This was supposed to be his moment. His star-making victory over a legend that establishes him as WWE's next monster. Instead, he's getting a replacement opponent rumored to be Braun Strowman or Bronson Reed, who doesn't carry nearly the same credibility as defeating Brock Lesnar would. That's not just disappointing for Oba, it's career damaging, because now instead of being the guy who beat Brock Lesnar at Royal Rumble, he's the guy who was supposed to face Brock but Brock backed out. That makes Oba look less important than the match, instead of the match being important because of Oba. Let's talk about what this reveals about Brock's insecurity. He's always positioned himself as the ultimate professional who does what's best for business. He's talked about respecting the industry and understanding his role. He's presented himself as above ego and politics, but his actions here expose that as performance. When faced with the reality that he's been surpassed by a younger generation, Brock's true priorities become clear. Protecting his image matters more than helping WWE build the future. His ego matters more than his responsibility to the business that's made him millions. That's not legendary behavior. That's pathetic ego protection from someone who can't accept that everyone eventually gets passed by the next generation, even Brock Lesnar. The comparison to other legends is damning. Think about how The Undertaker approached his later career. He put over Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, and others when the time came, understanding that his role was elevating the future. Same with Shawn Michaels, who spent his comeback run putting over younger talent. Same with Edge, who continues doing jobs to help build stars. Those legends understood that your legacy is enhanced by creating the next generation, not by hoarding victories to maintain an illusion of dominance that no longer exists. Brock apparently doesn't understand that. Or he understands it but his ego won't allow him to accept it. Here's what should happen as consequences. WWE should fine Brock for breach of contract. He agreed to work Royal Rumble, and backing out for ego reasons rather than legitimate injury should cost him financially. WWE should publicly clarify that Brock refused the match rather than maintaining the scheduling conflict lie. Fans deserve honesty about why their anticipated match isn't happening. WWE should commit to Oba regardless of opponent. Give him a dominant victory at Royal Rumble and immediately position him for championship contention. Don't let Brock's cowardice derail Oba's momentum. And honestly, WWE should consider whether they want to continue working with someone who puts personal ego above business needs. If Brock refuses to do jobs when asked, what value does he provide beyond taking up spots that could go to wrestlers actually willing to help build the company's future? But here's what will actually happen. WWE will maintain their scheduling conflict lie. Brock will face zero consequences. Oba will beat a replacement opponent in a match that means significantly less than the Brock match would have. And in a few months, WWE will bring Brock back for another program where he's protected and doesn't have to do meaningful jobs. The pattern continues because WWE values short-term comfort with established names over long-term investment in creating new stars. My prediction? Brock returns at WrestleMania in some capacity, maybe Royal Rumble appearance, maybe a Legends match, maybe as a surprise for a specific segment. WWE will act like this Royal Rumble situation never happened. And Obafemi will have to rebuild momentum that should have been amplified by defeating Brock. That's not fair. That's not professional. But it's how WWE operates when legends have enough leverage to dictate terms. The fan reaction has been mixed. Brock's defenders claim he's protecting the business by not losing to someone unproven. But that logic is circular nonsense. How does someone become proven if legends refuse to put them over? You create proven stars by having them beat established names, not by protecting those names indefinitely. The broader wrestling community is frustrated. This is exactly the pattern that's prevented WWE from creating new stars for years. Legends refuse to do jobs, WWE enables that refusal, young talent gets buried or stalled, and we end up with a thin main event scene overly reliant on part-timers and aging veterans. Drop your thoughts. Is Brock Lesnar scared of Obafemi? Should WWE force Brock to work the match or face consequences? And does this situation prove WWE will never properly build new stars as long as they keep protecting legends? Comments below because this conversation needs to dominate wrestling discourse. This is Wrestling News CC, exposing the truth behind WWE's corporate lies and legend protection. Subscribe for continued coverage of whether Obafemi recovers from this setback and if Brock ever faces accountability. Brock Lesnar backed out of facing Obafemi. WWE is lying about why. Oba's star-making moment got stolen by a 47-year-old's ego. And the pattern of protecting legends at the expense of building the future continues unabated. Brock is scared. WWE is complicit. And Obafemi is paying the price for both their cowardice. This isn't how legends behave. This isn't how professionals operate. This is a 47-year-old running from the reality that he's been surpassed by someone younger, better, and hungrier. And WWE is letting him get away with it because they value comfortable nostalgia over bold future building. That's not smart business. That's corporate cowardice that will haunt them when their legends finally retire and they have no one ready to replace them. Obafemi deserved better. Fans deserve better. And the wrestling business deserves better than watching Brock Lesnar's fragile ego destroy opportunity for the next generation. Hashtag Brock Lesnar, hashtag Obafemi, hashtag WWE, hashtag Royal Rumble, hashtag exposed and scared.